us this morning. Bestowed on your name. Amen.
Good morning to everybody. It's good to be here. I'm glad we all made it here. I'm especially glad Paul made it here. I don't know if he was going to be able to get out of bed this morning after his half marathon yesterday. Paul's here. Cade's here. Good job, guys. Joseph Lehman's not, and he ran that race, so I don't know if he's still in bed, probably. But it's good to be here. I am going to be picking up on this series about Abraham, and the title is Abraham, Sarah, and God. And I really do want to focus on God throughout this whole series, because it's not about Abraham. He was not actually that special, but God is moving in a powerful way. So I don't know how proficient you are at history. Anybody like history? Does anyone raise your hand if you know who King Hammurabi was and what he did? Raise your hand if you know who King Hammurabi, you heard of him. All right. Now raise your hand if you know who Abraham was and what he did. Wow. So you can go to the next slide here. Keep going. You can display the whole thing. So Hammurabi ruled in Babylon about 1800 BC, and he was around the same era that Abraham was. And he was known for this law that he made that is in all the ancient history books. He's one of the first guys that really made some laws that we have still on record on this stone. And this is a famous stone that still survives. You can go see it. Hammurabi was commonly said to be blessed by the gods. In fact, some people said he was a god. That's just the way that people thought about kings back in that time, as gods. And some even actually named their children Hammurabi Ili, which apparently means Hammurabi is my god. And the top of this code here, the code is written down in the bottom part, and the top has a picture of the king Hammurabi receiving the symbols of royal authority from Shamash, the god of justice. So it was thought that through Hammurabi, the world would finally have justice and peace because he has the best laws. Finally, a king, they thought, would solve the problem of evil. We'll just make really good laws and have justice, and then there'll be peace. Because people were really desperate at this time for peace. There was chaos. Right before the flood, it said people were killing each other for no reason. And even after the flood, it got worse and worse and worse. Humans were just a mess. Culture was terrible. It was chaotic. The strong survived, and the weak got abused. But there was this other man from the same time as Hammurabi, a no-name guy. Nobody really heard of him before, Abraham, or Abram. And this man, though, was special because this man had a promise from the God who created the universe. The promise God made was that through Abraham's family, God would bless all the families of the earth. Through Abraham's family, God would actually solve the problem of evil. And God also said that he would make Abraham's name great. And we just did a study here, a very scientific study, where you raise your hands if you heard about King Hammurabi, king of the whole area, that still has people talking about him today because of his laws. But who's more famous? Whose name is greater? If you ask people around the world, who's heard of Abraham and who's heard of King Hammurabi? Abraham is revered by Jews, Christians, and Muslims as the father of their faith. Billions of people around the world know the name Abraham and study his life. God has made Abraham's name great, like he promised. I have a couple hard questions to think about today. I don't know if they'll be answered. Why did God decide to bless only Abraham's family? Isn't that unfair favoritism that God would reach out to one family and say, this is going to be my family that I'm going to bless the world with? Why did he reach out to one family? Isn't that favoritism? If he's all-powerful, why didn't God just have a personal encounter with every single person? He could have came to them just like he came to Abraham. He could have came to every single person and proved to them that he's real. For those of us who are Christians, another question I wonder is, you may wonder, is God calling you? What is God calling you to? He called Abraham. What's he calling me to? What's God's calling in my life? Who am I going to marry? Where am I going to go? How am I going to serve God? Common questions. Have you asked why God doesn't just appear to you? Why doesn't God just tell you? Why doesn't he just make it clear if he really loves you? Why doesn't he just make it clear where you should go, or which church you should be with, or who you should marry, or any of those questions? Why doesn't he just make it simple like he did for Abraham? He said, go. So today, in the second part of the series on Abraham, we're going to see how God called Abram specifically and said that he would bless all the families of the earth through Abraham. You can do the next slide. Or that one, yeah. God created 2 fresh starts already. Adam was a fresh start in the Garden of Eden. Noah was a whole nother fresh start. But both of those times, humans instead chose to do what they wanted to do, spiraling lower and lower into violence, chaos, and pain. Today, I want you to see that God is creating a 3rd fresh start for humanity in Abram, also known as Abraham. But this time, this 3rd time, God promises something that he hasn't promised before. Through Abraham, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So if you could turn to Genesis 11. We're going to read a few verses in Genesis 11. And actually, Kate or Elliot, would you mind grabbing me some water? Appreciate that. Thanks. So Genesis 11, we're picking up where we left off right after the Tower of Babel.